am here in central Sri Lanka and in the highlands at a really fantastic community supported tea plantation or tea estate that has a wonderful model, and you'll be hearing a little bit from the manager of the tea production as well as a little tour of some of the tea fields here. So you can see it's incredibly beautiful here. It's lush, it's green, the moisture in the air is really high, and at the same time, you know, it's warm and the soil is perfect for tea. So, you know, Sri Lanka, or frequently known as Ceylon in the past, is one of the best places in the world for tea. And yet, at the same time, there's been a lot of challenges because labor is much better compensated and cared for here in Sri Lanka than it is in some of the other tea-producing countries. So it's difficult to stay competitive. And Sri Lanka has managed to stay competitive by producing organic and higher quality teas. So here at the AMBA Estate, I am standing in between two large tea fields. They're about 120 years old each. And over here, this is a black tea field. And over here is where they're gathering their white tea. So let's take a look at some of these teas. So if you're familiar with black tea, which I'm sure you are because that is most of what people are calling tea in a tea bag, that is these top kind of leaves and a bud right here. And what they're doing with these is either machine rolling them or hand rolling them. And the hand rolling is going to allow them to both become oxidized and fermented. So you end up with that tea product that you're familiar with before it's dried. But the tea leaves are edible and they don't taste anything like tea. So this is one of the things about tea, is that tea actually needs to be processed before you can actually use it. You know, unlike something like mint, where you take mint and you put it in water and it becomes mint tea. If you take tea leaves and you put them in water, it tastes like water. It doesn't really extract at all, even if they're a little bit dried. However, there's a specialty here that used to be illegal in historical times, and that is called kind of I think it's the peasant tea is what they call it. And that came from when these tea plants when the tea harvest was under colonial rule. Tea was too expensive for the Sri Lankan people to actually buy. So what they would do is they would pick some of these big leaves, which are not usually used for tea necessarily, and they'd stuff them in their pockets. And then when they got home, they would grind them up, like they do a lot of the spices that are used in traditional. They would dry them and grind them up and use that as tea. So that's a really different type of tea, because usually it would be more of the tender tips that they would be using. But there's a long history of that kind of peasant style tea here, as they call it, or they often call it illegal tea. And so that's something that still to this day that a lot of Sri Lankan people enjoy drinking because of tradition that started during the colonial rule with Britain. White tea is even more delicate, and I'm standing here in a field of white tea. You can see all of the tea plants all around me. They're beautiful, and they're also protected a little bit more in the shade. So if you see these shade plants that are growing here, they are a pea family plant. Oftentimes I see albizia grown in this way, and what those plants are doing is they are creating fertilizer for the tea, an organic, sustainable fertilizer. So what they'll do is when it's hot and sunny, they'll allow these plants to grow large and to create a little bit of shade. And then when it's the rainy season and they need a little bit more sunlight, they will cut down all of the tops of these pea family trees, and they will go ahead and spread them all around as fertilizer. Tea production in Sri Lanka is also really interesting because unlike parts of India and China and Nepal, tea is actually not native here. It was brought here, and it ended up having the ideal climate here. So tea ended up thriving incredibly once it was brought to this area. So it ended up really changing the economic state of the British colonialists that were running all of the tea. But at the same time, you know, over time, this has been reclaimed by many generations of Sri Lankans. So some of the stories that I find really heartening here with the tea plantations are the many stories that have happened where generations upon generations would work in the tea plantations, but and then with plantation owners, but then ultimately would end up purchasing the plantations, especially as the economy has changed here. And so a lot of the plantations are Sri Lankan owned at this point and operated, and have some sustainable community models that you see at places like here at AMBA.
Welcome to AMBA Estate. My name is Neethanjana, the production manager. So AMBA Estate situated in Uva region, above the Ravanella waterfall. We are 1,100 meters above from the sea level. And the specialty of AMBA Estate, we are making specialized artisanal teas. I'm talking about artisanal teas, not talking about design teas. I think design word is not matching for tea very well. It's good for clothing and shoes, but tea is crafted, artisan. So we are making Sri Lankan specialized artisanal tea, all done by hand. Compared to normal Sri Lankan tea factories, and which they do orthodox tea, they normally produce almost 1 ton of made tea per day, which following the same system what British used to do in Sri Lanka. But right now, AMBA Estate, almost 110 years old tea factory, really restarted this specialized artisanal tea since 2010, and we pick the best quality, finest quality tea leaf, what we call one leaf and one bud, just top one leaf and one bud, and using this tea leaf, we just hand roll the tea and focus in the quality and the traceability. Every single step, whatever we do here, we keep the record and step by step process the tea for the best quality. And especially the different of artisan tea is compared to normal factories, they use machines and we use humans and we use hands. And step by step handcrafted the specialized unique product compared to mass production. So we target the top high niche customers and we do small, target the best customers and treat workers very well. This is the future of Sri Lankan tea.
I'd love to hear more about treating workers and some of the models that you've created here to support your workers and help them to become, as I think you said, not just tea growers or pickers, but actually tea producers.
True, especially when you go to colonial time, British are the people who introduced tea to Sri Lanka. At that time, they introduced same time machines, because Sri Lanka is one of the beautiful country for tea, which we can pick the tea leaf all year around. So because of that reason, British commercialize it. They introduce machines which can process 6 to 10 ton of green leaf per day. To do that processing, we need good harvest. We had the harvest in the tea field. To collect that harvest, they brought lot of tea laborers to the tea field and who work like actually machines, because each tea lady in a normal tea culture have to pick 16 to 20 kilos of tea leaf within 8 hours. All the day they should work. It's not that easy. And also, when they collect 20 kilos of tea leaf, they get only $4. That's nothing. So because of that reason, Sri Lankan tea industry going down and down and down, because right now no young people love to pick the tea leaf because they go for better options. So as a result, now Sri Lanka is the 4th tea exporter in the world, number 4th tea producer in the world, who were in number 1. I think before 2000 years, actually before 2000, we were number 1, but we dropped to number 4 after 2000 because 20th century we are number 1 and 21st century we are number 4. So because of that reason, and right now as a result, we are not doing really well with tea. So for that, as a solution, what AMBA did, we keep the tea workers' social recognition, what we call it status, up. And not as a tea picker. Now AMBA tea workers are tea producers. What they do here, cooperation work. They're not just tea pickers. They come to the tea field and they pick the best tea leaf by their hand and they process it. It's their tea. So what we do right here, if you go to normal factory, your whole lifetime you pick the tea leaf, but here as a tea picker you come to the tea field and you pick the best quality tea leaf and you take it to the factory, and then you keep the record, the traceability is there, you keep the steps, and then you hand process it. And this is the future of Sri Lankan tea. That way you know what you do and your tea goes to the best customer and you get proud yourself, and also you are the tea picker and you are the tea maker. Once we do the tea tasting, tea is like wine. Soil, weather, elevation, production method, all effect for the flavor. So once we do the tasting, if we found one strange flavor, we can quickly track back the system, and we can directly ask the tea picker what happened and how we can improve it, and we can discuss. So they get really proud about this, and also that way we can get the best quality out of the tea, and also now they are the part of the production team. And also we work like a community, and we work like a social enterprise. So now AMBA Estate share 10% of farm income top of every worker's salary. So we all work here as a family.
The region of Sri Lanka where you find most of the tea production is in the high country and in the hill country. You can see around me there's quite a few mountains, and there's cooler nights and very different types of soil requirements. So while there are some white tea plantations in the lowland, this is where you're going to find most of the tea production, and it's just spectacular. You know, there's many of the green areas that aren't forested that you see in the distance are in fact tea production that have been going on for hundreds of years, and so it's, you know, it's just unbelievably beautiful. Right here below me is a newer cinnamon field. Cinnamon only grows for about 60 years before it needs to be replaced and renourished. They're working here on clearing some of the land and planting some more cinnamon. So cinnamon's a plant that grows a little bit better in the lower lands here, but can certainly be grown up here along with other plants like ginger, some cardamom. Cloves are large common trees in this area. So there's a lot of spicy forest going on here. Sri Lanka has ended up being one of my favorite places that I've ever traveled. It is a beautiful, incredibly safe land with so much natural beauty, gorgeous practices of sustainability and community supported tourism. The food is phenomenal. You know, it's basically this tropical, hyper local blend of things where people use almost no outside products. Everything comes from their own small micro community. A lot of people don't have refrigerators, so everything just needs to be made from whatever's available that day. And the food is pretty much all vegan, rich in coconut milk and shredded coconut, except for the meat. So lots and lots of predominantly vegan dishes, and then there'll be like a piece of meat or a single meat dish along with 4 to 5 vegetarian dishes. And lots of chili, lots of fresh black pepper, tons and tons of coconuts, and it's just delightful. So if you're looking for a safe, calm, clean, beautiful, green place to visit, I highly recommend Sri Lanka. The people are so kind, and you will be surrounded by tea and cinnamon and lemongrass and ginger and black pepper growing up trees, and it just feels like a whole spicy world.
Hey everyone, this is Mason with Herb Rally, and thanks for watching today's video. If you liked it, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. If you didn't know, if you're new to the Herb Rally community, we also list herbalism events. That's herbalism events we list chronologically as well as by state. You can find that at herbrally.com/events. And we list new, probably 10 new events every week, so you'll probably be able to find something happening around you. We also list herbalism online events, and you can find that at herbrally.com/virtual. So you're bound to find something happening in the near future or herbalism in your neck of the woods. If you want more video content, you should be able to find a video right here in this vicinity or this one right here. So enjoy our Herb Rally channel.